Is going to read questions, 6 questions, which have been put to me by Professor Ranjan at the National Institute of Design. I always come to this place when I want to look back on my life, and so I thought it would be a good spot to come and make these remarks. The other reason for coming here is that we have a picture of people, not designers, not really users, but people like ourselves who are not professionals, just drinkers of tea and talkers of talk.
What should be the role of design in our evolving understanding of the subject itself?
Well, in a short word, I think it should be made wider. My view of design is much wider, and I think Ranjan's is also. And I think we all ought to share this widening of the view of what a designer is supposed to do and who or what is he or she supposed to be.
How can that understanding help meet the real needs and aspirations of our people?
Well, first we have to look at this word needs, I think. You have to realize that it's difficult to define needs until you have a means of satisfying them. The example I always think of is television. There was no demand for that in the age of radio. Only a very few rich people had them. And then with black and white television, there was no demand for color television. And it would have cost 3 times as much. So the studios and the people at home thought it was a great deal to pay for just color when you'd already got black and white. But once they've seen it, their views change. When we experience something, we change our aims and our needs. So that's my answer, really. It's a dynamic thing which that question doesn't quite pick up.
What would be your comments on the role of design for public good?
Design for the public good. This is a phrase of Ranjan's himself, I think, and I like it. It's a good phrase, very useful. But it raises questions. What is the public good? That's a difficult question. And who, in fact, is to decide what it is? I think the answer is quite political to this question, if we proceed with it.
Say we do proceed with it with a broader sort of understanding. The main question would be, how do we nurture it here in India?
Well, I think in India you've got some very useful starts. I mentioned my lifelong interest in things Indian, and there is the Charles and Ray Eames report. I would begin by having another look at that. Then I would look at the work of M.K. Gandhi, and also Tagore. Rabindranath Tagore, particularly for me, is a source of very good ideas for this kind of thinking, this philosophical thinking about design. And then there's the craft work of the Indian craft work in Ranjan and his wife's wonderful book. I think that contains a lot of clues as to what's wrong with modern life. And if we to change it, we might as well make it like some of the good aspects of the.
How should we promote it as a professional as well as a human ethic?
Well, I think the profession needs to be not only redefined but refinanced, so that designers are not only paid by the people who buy the product and manufacture it and sell it, but they're also looking to all the people who are affected by the design.
Then the key question is there a core design philosophy that the new design schools could adopt and follow to realize the larger mission of design for public good?
Well, this is the main question, and it's difficult to answer it at all in such a small time as this. But I would say that the design philosophy is something of a contradiction in terms, because philosophy is about what exists, and design is about what isn't yet exist, is coming into existence. When it comes into existence, it changes people's minds. And the traditional philosophy doesn't take account of that. So it needs a new kind of philosophy, perhaps a designerly philosophy. There are attempts at that in different parts of my website, which we don't have time to look at. There's one part called Theory of Design and another one called Designing for Everyone. And I think those two, which we might have a peep at now, would give a clue.